Hey everybody, I'm Sagrada. I'm a game designer with Future Pastimes, and I wanted to do a video where I talk about my favorite dice games. Now these are not games that I designed, although I have made some custom variants or expansions for some of them. They're just dice games that I gravitate to. I like to play them quite a bit, and I really enjoy uh, how the dice are employed in the games. And so it's going to be games where the dice are the central part of it. There's a lot of games that I have in play that have dice. A game like Nemesis, there's some dice in it, but I don't really consider it a dice game. So, like I said, it's going to be games where the dice are a central focus to the gameplay. So here they are, six of my favorite dice games, the ones that I play the most. Number six is going to be Zombie Dice. This is a perfectly fine, light game. It's a great for killing some time. On the base game, there's a couple of expansions that I think jazz things up quite a bit. But this is a game that I have added a lot of custom material, custom dice, and custom other elements to the game that really liven it up for me. So that is a game that I like to play a lot. It's really simple to play and teach. So usually when I'm having a game night and I've got people coming over and some are going to be late or they're just not there, we can break out Zombie Days and dice so we can play that probably a few times before everybody's ready to assemble. So it's real quick to set up, quick to play, easy to learn. So Zombie Dice, great game. I love it. Number five game is going to be Pandemic the Cure. So this is kind of a dice version of Pandemic, although there's quite a bit that's different. You can see the DNA of Pandemic in there, but because of the dice, it plays very differently. It's pretty cleverly put together, so I appreciate the design elements to it to make a Pandemic-like game where the dice are the central part of it. So there's a lot less that you can control from end to end in Pandemic the Cure than you would in a normal Pandemic game. You do have the randomness of what cards are you going to draw in Pandemic, but with the dice, it's hard to plan ahead. So you roll the dice and you see how it goes. But it's got that tension that you get from Pandemic, and I like that. It's cooperative, so I enjoy Pandemic the Cure. I think it's a worthwhile game, and it's nice to kind of switch back and forth between normal Pandemic and some of the other Pandemic-like games, like the Reign of Cthulhu one, and then Pandemic the Cure. So I enjoy that overall Pandemic design, the core design, a lot. I think it's really well done. It's really innovative, and I appreciate having a number of games that employ those mechanisms. So that's my number five. Number four, Bang the Dice game. So this is another example of a dice version of another game. So I've got Bang, which is a card game, and I enjoy that. I've got some custom stuff for Bang. I don't have any custom stuff for Bang the Dice game. It's pretty well standalone. But again, it does a good job of recreating some of the dynamics that you get in Bang, but it's actually a lot quicker, a lot easier. It's one that I can get the kids into, and they understand it right away, and it's pretty brisk, so it's a nice quick game and a fun experience. It doesn't drag on. It resolves itself pretty quickly, faster than Bang does a lot of the times. So if we're not ready to buckle down for the full Bang, Bang the Dice game I think is a good compromise in there. My number three game is Kingsburg. I really like Kingsburg. It's a game I've had for quite a long time. First time I played it, I went out and got it probably within hours of having played it. So this is a game where you're rolling your dice, and depending on your results, you are going to use those dice on their own or group together to get things for it. So you can split the dice up and go for lower values, but the members of the court, that's who you are setting the dice on. The lower numbers aren't quite as good as what you're going to get from them. So you definitely, if you combine the dice, you're going to get better rewards. So rolling higher is definitely important. but I enjoy the theme of Kingsburg. I think it works well. I've made my own player color. That's really all I've done there. So I added purple, and there's some tokens and some other elements that you need, and I've done that. Yeah, I think Kingsburg is a good. There's a Lovecraftian re-theme of Kingsburg, and I don't remember the name of it, but it's pretty well done. But it's very fiddly and busy, and it takes up a lot of the table. Whereas Kingsburg is very straightforward. Doop, there's the board. You have your own little player mats where you're tracking your developments, to score points or to do better in the subsequent rounds. But yeah, it's just a really clean, elegant design. So I think Kingsburg is a lot of fun, and I enjoy it a lot. And it's not dissimilar from my number 2 game. So number 2 dice game for me is Alien Frontiers. I think Alien Frontiers is a great design. I really love the retro sci-fi theme that it has. I like that the dice are your ships. So similar to Kingsburg, where you say, all right, you roll your dice, and then you're going to place them on places, members of the court, to get certain things out of them. You're rolling your dice on Alien Frontiers, and you're placing them at these orbital stations. Depending on what you roll, is what you get out of it or what you can do. There's a little bit more diversity and of actions of what you're doing with the dice in Alien Frontiers that I think works really well. It's got a lot of expansions. I've made a few custom expansions for it. It's a game I like a lot. My son, who loves sci-fi games, really likes it, and it is, again, it's pretty accessible. It's a real simple concept. You've got the ships, you're rolling the dice, and you've got all these different things that you can do. But it's a matter of trying to optimize what is the best thing for you to do, knowing how you want to try to score points. So I think Alien Frontiers is fantastic. It's one of my favorite games, and I really like playing it. And I don't use the rocket dice that much. It's been kind of hit and miss with me on those. I appreciate that they did the rocket dice. I think it's a pretty hilarious concept. But I like the regular dice better for that game. And then my number 1 game is Sagrada. And I think Sagrada is an unusual dice game, in that you're rolling the dice to create a pool, which you are drafting to then use to create this sort of abstract version, an abstraction of a stained glass window. And the reason that it nudges out Alien Frontiers is not necessarily because I think it's a better game. I think at the end of the day, I like Alien Frontiers a little bit better, but I can play Sagrada more often because more of my family likes Sagrada. My daughter loves it. My wife enjoys it. She appreciates its aesthetics quite a bit. So it's a game that I know we can get to the table and we'll play it. We have a number of expansions. They're all pretty clever. I like those as well. So I think it's a good game. It's a beautiful game. It's just really interesting to behold. And again, it is pretty accessible. I've played this with non-gamers and my dad and stuff like that. It's one of those games that is also kind of like a puzzle. So I look at gaming as is like 2 broad categories. Some games are a puzzle to be solved, and some of them are just an experience to have. And a little bit of both with Sagrada, but it is more of a puzzle because you are trying to optimize the placement of those dice, knowing that in certain cases you have to place specific dice. You just don't know if you're going to be able to draft them or if they're going to have the right numbers when they're rolled. So you're trying to make the best of each of your turns, and you've got some hidden objectives and some public objectives that are how you're going to eventually score points. So you're taking that into account. And again, it's a really elegant design. It's really well done, great production value. It looks good. And even though it's very much an abstract game, in some ways it does feel thematic. So I appreciate that as well. So those are my favorite dice games, are the ones I play the most. There's some other ones that every once in a while I'll play them, but these, I'll play all of these games every year for sure. And I've picked up expansions, all the expansions I can get my hands on for all of them. So they definitely resonate with me, and they've opened up my interest in dice games. So I've been designing some dice games of my own. I'll have one coming out later this year and one in a year or so. But I really appreciate those. I really enjoyed them, and I love the dice. I love the idea of trying to mitigate the fact that it's just a roll. You don't know how it's going to go. Some of these games approach that in different ways. It's a little hit and miss in some cases, but it's like the one criticism, like, oh, it's too random. You know what you're going to do. I've taken that into account, so I can't wait to talk about those games when they do come out. Let me know your favorite dice games. I know a lot of my friends are like, what about Roll for the Galaxy? I didn't really like that much. I like Race for the Galaxy fine. I think if I had to, I would say I like San Juan, which is kind of almost the same game, a little bit better. But I do enjoy Race for the Galaxy. Roll for the Galaxy, though, just didn't hit for me. So don't even bother recommending it, because it's just not going to work. Fail. No, it's not a bad game. It's pretty decent, but it's just not my favorite. So I'd rather play Race for the Galaxy than Roll for the Galaxy. But let me know any other dice games where the dice are really central to the game, and let me know what you think of these games, if you've played them, and if you do try them out, let me know what you think. That's it for this video. Thanks for watching. I'll see you again soon.